Hello YouTube, it's me again, Willful Ninja, bringing you another Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition video. Now, similar to why I did a short Elven video out of order despite the fact that I was supposed to be doing the Dwarves, I will be doing a class video now. This is mainly in benefit of a friend of mine who has just started Dungeons & Dragons. So basically and she was interested in playing a sorcerer, specifically a Phoenix sorcerer. So I'll be going into what a sorcerer is, and then a little bit into the Phoenix. I plan to also do, now that I have a printer, I plan to also do my video in regards of how to fill out a character sheet, what the stats mean, and so on. Sorry if my throat's if I sounded like kind of my throat a bit. My throat is a little dry due to the fact that I just woke up and I had a very hot shower, so I'm a little dehydrated. But look, I have a drink over here, which I got right now. So okay, let's get started. First off, Sorcerer is one of the arcane magic users. There's different types of magic in D&D. There's divine, and then there's arcane. Now, divine relates to druids, paladins, rangers, and druids. Now, granted, rangers and druids don't use divines in the same way as paladins and clerics use it. They more focus on one divine entity, and that is nature itself. Whereas then the arcane magic users are the bard, sorcerer, wizard, and warlock. Now each have different origins of their power. For example, as before mentioned, the divines generally get their magic from some greater deity. For paladins, it's a little bit of a mix, because in the PHP it describes them as being warriors of justice and good, and they no longer have to take a deity. They don't even have to follow a deity. They just have to work to do good. So I think their power comes more from their oath to uphold these things. And clerics get them from a divine, and rangers and druids get them from Mother Nature. Now, arcane magic users, their power sources are completely different from one another. The bard goes to a college and he learns how to cast magic. More exactly, they go to a college where they're taught how to use the harmony of notes and music and their words to generate their power, how to weave them together to make power. Warlocks get their powers from a greater... They're similar to the clerics in the sense that they get their power from something else. The fiend, a fae, and an old one. Now there are some UAs, and there have been additions to some classes. Whereas sorcerers are born with their powers. They're the only magic users that are really born with them, and they come naturally to them from instinct. Wizards get their power through knowledge. They studied arcane books. They just purely use their intelligence to harness magic. Now the sorcerer. Every Dungeons & Dragons class has archetypes, advanced classes, or I think that's the only way you can really put it into specializations. Now, the majority of them get them at level 3. The wizard gets theirs at level 2, but the cleric and the sorcerer, I think, are the only ones that get them at level 1. I may be mistaken, which again I'll point out in other videos if it turns out other classes do get them in level. The warlock gets at level 1. Sorry, my mistake, I thought of one right there. I think a paladin gets at level 1 as well, I'm not sure. But anyway, now a sorcerer their archetypes are called origins. Now, here's what the PHP says. Now, I'm reading these out in case for those of you that do not have a player handbook. Golden eyes flashing. A human stretches out her hand and unleashes a dragonfire that burns in her veins as an inferno rages around her foes. Leathery rings spread from her back as she takes flight. Long hair whipped by a conjured wind. It's given. This first bit seems to be giving multiple examples of different origins, right? So we saw one from the dragon origin. Here's one from, I'm guessing, I think it's one of the. I can't remember what it's called. Hold on, I'm now curious myself. Dragon Draconic Bowline, Wild Magic. Oh, okay, so yeah, the next one is from Wild Magic. Long hair whipped by a conjured wind, a half-elf spreads his arms wide and throws his head back, lifting him momentarily off the ground. A wave of magic surges up in him, through him, and out from him, in a mighty blast of lightning. Crouching down behind a stalagmite, a halfling points a finger at charging troglodyte. A blast of fire springs from his finger to strike the creature. She ducks back behind a rock formation with a grin, unaware that her wild magic has turned her skin bright blue. And then that's the end of it. Of the different characters. Right? The interesting thing is wild magic there, and we'll be getting into that later on. Sorcerers carry a magical birthright conferred upon them by an exotic bloodline, some otherworldly influence or exposure to unknown cosmic forces. Okay, so you don't have to be born with it. Well, you're born with it, but you've been influenced, your soul or body have been influenced by some things. As with an example of the Phoenix Sorcerer, which I'll be getting into later on. Now, generally, from what I've seen, most sorcerers go with the born with, like somewhere in their family history is a sorcerer or the first of their bloodline to become sorcerers who have done something to integrate this power into their blood. Sorry, my allergies are starting to act up. Alright. Now that's the short description of a sorcerer. There's a few more things left to go over. The next bit is called raw magic. Magic is a part of every sorcerer, suffusing body, mind, and spirit with a latent power that waits to be tapped. Some sorcerer wields magic that springs from an ancient bloodline infused with magic of dragons. Others carry raw, uncontrolled magic within them, a chaotic storm that manifests in unexpected ways. The appearance of a sorcerer's power is widely unpredictable. Some draconic bloodlines produce exactly one sorcerer in every generation, but in other lines of descent, every individual is a sorcerer. Most of the time, the talents of sorcery appear as apparent flukes. Some sorcerers can't name the origin of their power, while others trace it to strange events in their own lives. The touch of a demon, the blessing of a dryad, a baby's birth, or a taste of war from a mysterious spring might spark the gift of sorcery. So too might the gift of a deity or magic. Exposure to the elemental forces of the inner planes, or the maddening chaos of limbo, or a glimpse into the inner workings of reality. Sorcerers have no use for the spellbooks and ancient tomes of magic lore that wizards rely on, nor do they rely on a patron to grant them their spells as warlocks do. By learning to channel their own inborn magic, they discover new and staggering ways to unleash that power. See, there you go. The key difference between a sorcerer, wizard, and a warlock, the three full casters, I believe they're sometimes referred to. They're just completely different as opposed to clerics, druids, and thing. Now, druids and clerics are different in the sense of what spells they get and the source of their spells, but it's still technically considered divine energy, and they still commune with Like a druid communes with nature, a cleric communes with a god or goddess. It's still generally the same boat. Now, here's the interesting thing. The player handbook also is now, like, after it goes into that, it also then goes into the fact that sorcerers are generally rare. Like, how should I put it? Like, the intertwining of blood of a being like a dragon, like a ritual or whatever you do, how it would be done, and then it's interesting that sorcerers are rare. I think wizards will be the most common, and then warlocks. But sorcerers are. I love how like they're just rare, because again, it's only under certain circumstances do they get their power. Whereas people who have money and who have the intellect can go study magic for a very long time and get their knowledge. Like probably go to a school or whatever. Whereas then warlocks make a deal with some patron. Now, in my D&D games, when it comes to those type of things like clerics, druids, paladins, and warlocks, because they get their powers from specifically something else. For example, if a paladin breaks his tenets, if a druid harms nature for no reason, if a cleric starts not doing what their god or goddess says, or if a warlock ends up breaking his pact. Now, he can get away with it with an old one, but with a fae or a fiend, if they do that, I, as a DM, would... Now, unless it's a purely combat-based game, I would have those deities strip them of their power temporarily. Just because, like, you're making this agreement. So, if you're planning on playing those type of characters, please keep in mind the inherent role play of that situation. So, like, I don't know, I'm getting off topic. I'll get into that when it comes to one of those classes, but you know, it's just like, cause like I've also seen players who would play a warlock, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I took a fiend as my patron, and I'm not gonna do what he says." Yeah, they can take that power back. A pact means a contract. Whereas then you broke it. Yeah, and a fiend is... No, most often a fiend can either be from two places. One is very unlikely, as why most people go the other route, is the Abyss and the Nine Hells. Now, the Abyss demons are all about chaos. That's why they're very unlikely about to make a deal with someone. Whereas then you have the Nine Hells, which is populated by devils who love making deals. And they will uphold those deals, and they all about corruption. Now, a devil may ask you to do something for them, but they'll try and keep it within what they expect you to, that you're willing to do, and then they'll slowly, ask you to do more and more and all that. But yeah, don't play a warlock, cleric, or paladin or druid, and then be a complete opposite of what that class entails. Yeah, but anyway. But yeah, sorcerers are very rare. Now, when you're making now, here's some of the tips for creating a sorcerer. There's also the quick build suggestions, which are always quite handy to look at. Most important question to consider when creating your sorcerer is the origin of your power. As a starting character, you'll choose an origin that ties to a draconic bloodline or the influence of wild magic. But again, there's UAs and there's books that added upon this, so don't just think that they're the only two. For example, I will be doing an in-depth video on Phoenix sorcery. And my friend is playing a sea sorcery origin, which is the polar opposite. But okay. But the exact source of your power is up to you to decide. Is it a family curse passed down from you from a distant ancestors, or did some extraordinary event leave you blessed with inherent magic, perhaps scarred as well? How do you feel about magical power coursing through you? Do you embrace it, try to master it, or revel in the unpredictable nature? Is it a blessing or a curse? Did you seek it out, or did it find you? Again, it goes on for quite a bit with that whole, decide your origin. For example, my friend who's playing a sorcerer, we haven't gone into what exactly her origin is, except the reason why she's a wood elf who left her tribe because they tried to have an arranged marriage they tried to enforce her an arranged marriage. And what she did was, well, basically fire everywhere. She burnt down her tribe and killed them in the fire. So yeah, that is going to come playing back into my games eventually. Like, just warning you, if you're watching this, you know who you are. But yeah, so when you're making your sorcerer, try and think about how is that you got into contact with this energy. For example, she is playing a phoenix sorcerer. So did she inherit from her blood, or when she was born, was she born in the presence of a phoenix, given going through its rebirth, or was a phoenix just very close proximity? It's up to you to decide. Just like with the draconic one, did someone in your family perform some sort of ritual, ingesting blood, making them the first of the draconic bloodline, and then it carried through? Or are you the one who did a dark ritual, or were you forced to do a dark ritual by some sort of cult or whatever? There's a lot of possibilities, especially the dragon cult one is very interesting, especially if you're planning on playing Dragon's Tyranny, which is a great book. I'm currently playing through it, and I really recommend some of you play it. Now, here's the quick build. You can make a sorcerer quickly by following these suggestions. First, charisma should be your highest ability score, followed by constitution, and then second, choose the hermit background. Now, the hermit background often sorcerers are alone. You don't have to pick the hermit background, or just like how you don't have to have charisma as your highest. But it's sometimes generally recommended you do, But yeah, and then it suggests that you pick light, prestidigitation, ray of frost, and shocking grasp cantrips, along with first level spells, shield, and magic missile. Shield, always useful. Just because it's oh wow, that monster beating my AC, but it only beat my AC by 4. I'll cast shield, boom, you raise your AC by 5, and the creature doesn't hit you. That's the handy thing about shield, because you actually get to wait and see if the creature hits you with it. And the magic missile is great because it's an automatic hit, but they did change it from previous editions, so you can't just cast it at darkness. You have to see your target still. So yeah, so that's great. But instead of taking shield or magic missile, especially if you're not going to the draconic one, the draconic one has a natural increase to your AC, which is why it's useful. But you can't go, in my opinion, you can't go wrong, especially if you're a magic user with no armor. You can't go wrong with mage armor. Raise your DC to 13 plus your dexterity. Very useful, especially for my friend here especially for my friend who's planning on playing a wood elf, and she has 18 dex. So yeah, that is plus 4. So that she has an AC of 17 when she casts mage armor, and it lasts for 8 hours. Shield lasts a round. So, and then she can still have, my wizard carries both shield and mage armor, just for those emergencies where I have to be like, oh shit, I need my mage armor, oh crap, they got past the still shield, it's great. It's a great combination, especially for the weaker, the squishier characters. But okay, here's the class features. Level 1, you get your spellcasting sorceress origin, and you know 4 cantrips, which is one more than wizards. But here's the catch though, you only know 2 spells. Yeah, sorcerers get just as many spell slots as wizards. And also, they cannot collect spells like wizards. Wizards have their spell book, so if they get a scroll that's a wizard scroll, that contains a wizard spell, they can copy it down into their spell book and permanently have it. Whereas sorcerers, they can only get their spells as they level up in a sorcerer. So by level 20, you better have your spells planned out, because otherwise you're not going to be able to swap them out. You're going to be stuck. So at level 19, so yeah, look at all your spells for those of you that have the PHP, or find an app, or find someone who has the PHP and ask them, look, can I borrow it? Can I look through it? And plan out your spells. Okay, let's get into some of their features. A sorcerer starts as 1d6 hit dice per sorcerer level, which means during a short rest they can roll a d6 and get healed. Their hit points at starting level is 6 plus Constitution. So, like the wizard, they're not going to take much hit. Like a bugbear could insta kill you. Not good. Because like an insta kill in D&D is if a creature in one hit, a creature deals double your maximum health. And let's say your maximum health, for example, say if you have your Constitution as 10, that means you have 6. So if a creature deals 12 damage, you can be insta-killed. So yeah. Hit points at higher levels, you can either roll a d6 plus your con to increase your maximum health by that, or you can take the average, which is 4 plus your Constitution. So it's a little bit like, do I want to take the average, or do I want to chance that 5 and 6? Your proficiencies now. You have no armor. You start off with daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. Sorcerers start off with the least amount of weapons. A wizard starts off with 6. Sorcerer starts off with 5. So you get no tools. Your saving throws are Constitution and Charisma. So you can survive quite a bit, like diseases and poisons. You can possibly survive them. You add a proficiency bonus to your con. And then when it comes to being mentally persuaded, you have some ability. You have skills that resist this. Now again, you can get. We're going to go into skills, which will normally relate into also your class and background. Background and race. So there's some positives here. So you're not only stuck with this, but a sorcerer starts off with two of the following. You can only pick 2: Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. Mostly it's the charisma based ones, as it seems, with 2 intelligence selection, religion, and arcana, and then they have 1 wisdom choice from insight. Now again, for example, my friend playing a wood elf, she automatically starts off with perception. So even if it's not in that list, at least she has that. And also when it comes to weapons, because she's a wood elf, she starts off with short sword, long sword, short bow, and long bow. So certain races do mesh well with certain classes. Your starting equipment is a light crossbow with 20 ammunition or a simple weapon, a component pouch, or an arcane focus, which do the exact same thing, but they do the thing that differently depending on what it is. A component pouch is, you're assumed to, it's like a utility belt from Batman, whereas arcane focus is like a wand or an orb or a staff. You also start off with a Dungeoneer's pack or an Explorer's pack. And then you have 2 daggers automatically. So you could go like, slash, dagger, dagger, dagger. Now, now we're getting into the main beef of it. Spellcasting. Now, again, the first bit of spellcasting, it just talks about your family, like in an event in your past or in the life of a parent or ancestor left I can't pronounce that word. It left a mark on you, infusing you with arcane magic. This font of magic, whatever its origin, fueled your spells. See Chapter 10 for general rules of spellcasting and Chapter 11 for sorcery spell list. Now, you get 2 cantrips, as I said, you get 4 cantrips of your choice, and you learn additional ones as you level up. For example, by level 20, you have 6 cantrips. That is 2 more, I think, than the wizard. But you would also know 15 spells, so plan out your 15 spells, because they should range from level 1 to level 9. You would want to have at least 1 level 9, 1 level 8, and maybe 1 level 7. Just so that way you have those really powerful, fuck off spells. Now, like the wizard, you get spell slots as you level up. You start off with 2 at level 1, and by 20th level you will have 4 level 1s, 3 level 2s, 3 level 3s, 3 level 4s, 3 level 5s, 2 level 6s, 2 level 7s, and then 1 level 8 and 1 level 9. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but there is in some cases there are huge gaps. There are huge jumps in power from level 1 to sometimes level 2 even. For example, the fireball spell, very powerful, is only a level 3. And then there's like easy level 1 equivalents of fire spells, and they don't even deal near as much damage. Magic Missile is a level 1. It deals auto damage of minimum 3, or you can spread out that damage to other people. Oh crap. Oh, so much for putting on a clean shirt. Right, so again, now as you level up you will gain these spells. You will also gain something called Font of Magic, which is called Sorcery Points. Now you spend these Sorcery Points to do different stuff with your magic. We'll get into that shortly. Very cool stuff. It's what makes these guys stand more out from warlocks and other magic users. They can do so much with their spells, Sorcery Points. Okay. So, your spellcasting ability is Charisma, and your spell save DC is... Now, when I say spell save DC, this is the difficulty of resisting your magic. For example, if you cast a spell on someone, like for example, Burning Hands, boom, it's a flamethrower spell in a 15-foot cone. Every enemy you hit in it has to make a dex save. Now, the number that they have to pass by is determined by your spell save. Now, the spell save is A plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. For example, my friend who has 18 charisma, that's a modifier of 4. So already it's at 12, and then it's their proficiency bonus, which will be 2. Now your proficiency bonus goes up as you level up. So at maximum level, your proficiency bonus goes up to plus 6. So highest unless they get up to 20, they can go up to 20 DC. Because let's see now. Okay, let's say they have 20 charisma. It's A, then that's plus 5, so that brings you to 13, plus then 6, 19, sorry, 19. So yeah, 19 is your highest spell save DC, which means creatures will find it very hard to resist, especially the low level ones. Dragons, yeah, they're going to resist that. They also have they it's very unlikely for it's very likely for a dragon to resist it, but even if they fail, they still have that ability to automatically pass those saves, but they can only use it 3 times per day. So yeah, if you're facing a dragon, I recommend you force the dragon to automatically pass those things straight off the bat. Like, some teams will use them up if you're clever. Like, if the dragon actually fails, regardless of the spell level, he will make the dragon be like, alright, I'll pass this. Just to give the players a little bit of a hand. Your spell attack modifier is your proficiency plus your charisma. So again, your spell attack comes into play when you cast spells aiming at creature. For example, Chill Touch, my favorite spell for a wizard. I'm not sure if it's a sorcerer spell, so forgive me. But in order to, I roll a d20 and I cast at an enemy, like, I'm shooting at an enemy. I would roll a d20 and say the sorcerer has max charisma stats. Say the creature has AC of 12. You would add 2 plus 5, that's 7, and I rolled a 7. Boom. I get that will instead of taking the 7 that's on the dice, I add 7 because of my spell attack. That will then go up to 14, and I will hit the creature. So very useful. And again, it goes up to by your proficiency bonus, so it can go up to 11 because of plus 6 at level 20. So keep an eye on your proficiency bonus, guys, because you don't want to end up updating that. Like, you don't want to forget about it and be like, oh shit, I could have been hitting those creatures, like, You get a spellcasting focus, which is again the same as the arcane focus and all that. And now we get into your origins. I'm going to read out everything on these bits because origins are normally left to the end of the class section, so we'll get to them later. Level 2, Font of Magic. At level 2, you tap into a deep wellspring of magic within yourself. This wellspring is represented by sorcery points, which allow you to create a variety of magical effects. Now here's how they work. You have 2 sorcery points, and you gain more as you reach higher levels, as shown in the sorcery points column on the sorcerer's table. And you can never have more sorcery points than shown on the table for your level, and you regain all of them when you do a long rest. Now, your first use of sorcery points is exchanging them for different spell slots. Say, for example, level 1. You ran out of first level spell slots. You used up your 2. You can then exchange your 2 sorcery points to create a spell slot. So you can outcast a wizard. Like, when a wizard spends, his 2 spells, I think. Let me check. Real quick, wizard is after, warlock technically, and then wizard. Yeah. So if a wizard spends his first 2 spells, first level spells, he's done. He will not get any more. Whereas then a sorcerer will be like, you know what, I'm burning my 2 sorcery points, give me another spell slot, and then cast a first level spell. So sorcerers can outcast other magic users. But they can also, if you want to get like a second level, say if you run out of second level spells but you still have first levels but you don't have enough source points to create a second level one, you would then turn a first level spell into 2 sorcery points, and if you have a total of 3, you will then turn those 3 into a second level spell. So yeah, it allows you for a very flexible casting, which is even stronger. Now, there's no conversion system required in a variant rule in the Dungeon Master's Guide called Spell Points, which I will be using. I'll get into that. I normally use them in my games, so that's how they generally instead of having to turn like a first level spell into sorcery points and then turn those sorcery points into a second level spell, you just turn your sorcery points into spell points. One step. It's just one step with spell points, with a spell point system. But again, even more flexible casting in that regard, I suppose, because instead of taking like 2 steps, they just take 1 step. Okay, now you cannot create higher than 5th level. 5th level is your cap. So, yeah. But your maximum sorcery points is 20, and with the spell point system, technically you can spend 14 sorcery points to get the equivalent of 2 level 5 spell points, and then cast them at a higher level. So technically, sorcerers get a huge bump with the spell points, because spell points don't use levels. When you cast a 1st level spell, you spend just 2 spell points. You cast I don't know how much a 5th level spell is worth, but a 6th level spell is only worth like less than, I don't know actually. But yeah, but basically you could technically spend a lot of your sorcery points to get the SP or mana to cast a higher level. So yeah, it just depends on how many sorcery points you're willing to spend on that. But again, there are other uses of sorcery points which we're going to get into now. It's called meta magic. At 3rd level, you gain the ability to twist your spells to suit your needs. You gain 2 of the following meta magic options of your choice. You gain another one at level 10 and another one at level 17. You can only use one meta magic option on a spell when you cast it, unless otherwise noted. Now, and here they are. Okay? Careful spell. When you cast a spell that forces an enemy creature to make a saving throw, you can protect some of those creatures from a spell's full force. To do so, you spend 1 sorcery point, and you choose a number of those creatures up to your charisma modifier minimum of 1 creature. A chosen creature automatically succeeds a saving throw against that spell. Handy if you have lots of AoE spells and you have some melee fighters in there. For example, you have a paladin or a fighter in the midst of holding the line, like he's not letting any enemies get past him because the rest of the party is rogues, wizards, and a sorcerer. That's supposed to be like, okay, burning hands, or even better, yeah, fireball, the big fuck you spell. When it hits, he can spend a sorcery point to save the fire. Great. That fire takes half the damage, whereas the rest will have to roll to see if they can resist half the damage. So very useful spell. Distance spell. When you cast a spell that has a range of 5 feet or greater, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double the range. When you cast a spell that has a range of touch, and you can spend 1 sorcery point to make the range of the spell 30 feet. So yeah, that's great, especially for like the spell Shrunken Grasp, which is a touch spell. Boom, you can now shoot lightning instead of having to touch someone. Players and DMs, if this does happen, try and be creative of how it looks. Like for example, Shocking Hands, very easy to turn it from a touch like Chidori from Naruto to say Sit Lightning from Star Wars. Very easy. Empowered. When you roll a damage for a spell, you can spend 1 sorcery point to reroll a number of the damage dice up to your charisma modifier, minimum 1. You must use the new rolls. You can use an empowered spell even if you have already used a different magic option when cast during the spell. So basically, you can cast careful, distant to increase the range, and then afterwards you can be like, oh, I'm going to give more damage to it. It's handy. Then you have expended spell. You can double the spell's duration to a maximum of 24 hours. It's very useful, for example, if you have Mage Armor, because Mage Armor lasts 8 hours. Spend that 1 sorcery point, boom, it lasts for 16 hours. So if you know you're going into a really long fight, or you're not going to get a nice safe spot to rest, you can have Mage Armor active for 16 hours, and your character is essentially protected. And theoretically, I think you can do that with Shield. Not sure. I would, unless I see otherwise by sage advice, I would say you can use it. Hold on, guys. I can't check the battery, sadly. Then you have heightened spell. You spend 3 sorcery points. When you cast a spell that forces the creature to make a saving throw to resist its effects, you can spend 3 sorcery points to give one target of the spell disadvantage on its first saving throw made against the spell. Handy, especially against creatures that would have resistance. Like, for example, if you're hitting a tiefling with a fireball spell, give them cancel out their actually, no, their resistance only makes them take half damage. So yeah, so if the creature has very high dex, give them disadvantage to increase your odds of them failing. Then you have Quickens, where you take a spell that casts time of 1 action. You then turn it into a bonus action. Very useful if you're going to be like in the melee fights as well. But it costs 2 sorcery points. The subtle spell is 1 sorcery point, but you can cast a spell without using its somatic or verbal component. Very useful. Somatic is gesture, like whoa, and verbal is the word. Twin spell allows you to target. It doesn't have range spell. You can spend a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level to target a second creature with a spell. One spell the spell is a cantrip. Okay, so basically, it allows you to target more than one target of a spell. So yeah, spend a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level to target. To target. Okay, so if it's a fireball spell, you have to spend 3 sorcery points to duplicate it. That's not bad. It's a very fair price considering it's a 3rd level, and a 3rd level spell slot is worth 5 sorcery point cost. Whereas with twin spell, yeah, you have to cast the exact same spell again. But for example, fireball, boom, you cast it only for 3 instead of 5. Very useful. Okay, and then when you reach 4th level, 8th, 12th, and 16th, and then 19th, you get to increase your ability scores. So it's that can allow you to go up to your 20. Alright. But it's very useful, or you can take a feat. So feats can come in handy, especially for there's about 2. Well, that's a few, depending on the circumstances. Spell Sniper allows you to ignore cover, unless it's full cover. So it's very useful. And then there's one that increases your spell's ranges, and you get a free cantrip. So you could potentially get 7 cantrips. And then at level 20. At 10 level, you regain 4 expended sorcery points whenever you finish a short rest. So yeah, you get 4 sorcery points back at short rest instead of getting them all. Very useful, especially if you're burning through your sorcery points. It's just that in some cases you may miss out on some things due to the fact that you have multiclassing. But again, this video is going under the assumption you're going to full level 20. Now we get into the origins. Now, because we're now reaching the 40-minute mark, instead of doing the dragon one first, I'm going to do the phoenix one, just so that way I guaranteed to let my friend know what the phoenix does. Okay. Here's the semi-short description that Wizards gave the phoenix sorcery. Your power draws from the immortal flame that fuels the legendary phoenix. You or your ancestor perhaps rendered a phoenix a great service or were born in its presence. Whatever the cause, a shard of phoenix power dwells within you. That power is a mixed blessing. Like the mythical creature, you can invoke fiery energy and gain the ability to cheat death itself. This power comes at a cost. The fire within you seethes, demanding to be unleashed. You sometimes find yourself absent-mindedly feeding fires. You can't bear to allow a fire to sputter out. You feel most comfortable while holding a lit torch or sitting in front of a campfire. More importantly, this gift comes with no special protection from fire. You are as vulnerable as any other creature to fiery magic, including your own. Phoenix sorcerers can use their powers to pull themselves back from the brink of death, and all too often their own rash nature or reliance on destructive magic is what puts them there in the first place. Such sorcerers are wanderers by necessity. The volatile nature of their magic makes their folk makes other folk nervous. If a fire breaks out in a town, a phoenix sorcerer had best flee, whether guilty or not. Fire is a dangerous force, and the phoenix sorcerers have a reputation, deserved or not, for a reckless behavior, confident that the essence of the phoenix can save them. It's a very cool concept. Now, with this, you get a quirk. Now, the quirk adds a lot of very interesting role playing. My friend loves it. She chose you cackle like a fiend when you unleash your fire spells. I'm gonna hold her to that. I plan to hold her to that. But you can either roll a d6 or you can pick one. You absentmindedly ignite small fires that quickly sputter out. You cackle like a fiend when you unleash your fire spells. You admire fire even if it burns your friends. Ugh. You are covered in burns that mark the first time your power manifested. You like your food charred. You are brave to the point of recklessness. Okay. Now at level 1, At level 1, you get the feature Ignite. At first level, you gain the ability to start fires with a touch. As an action, you can magically ignite a flammable object you touch with your hand, an object such as a torch, a piece of tinder, or the hem of drapes. Pretty useful, mostly role playing, but pretty cool. Mantle of Flame. This one is actually a combat one, I believe. Starting at first level, you can unleash the phoenix fire that blazes within you. As a bonus action, you magically read yourself in a swirling fire, as your eyes glow like hot coals. For 1 minute, you gain the following benefits. Now, 1 minute doesn't seem long, but in combat, each round, as in like, say like a usual party of 4 versus a group of enemies. Now, it's again general rule of thumb: 1 round, regardless of how many people is in it, is 6 seconds. Because everyone makes their turn at the same time, technically. For example, say even if there's about 20 people in the round, and you go through all their turns, they're all moving all at once. Which is why general rule of thumb is you can't reply until your turn or until the next round, if someone's trying to talk to you during a fight. But yeah. Here's the benefits. So 1 minute, very long time. It's 10 rounds. So unless it's a boss fight, you will pretty much, have your mental flame, throughout the entire fight. And again, it doesn't cost you anything to cast it, to reactivate it. It doesn't seem. Let me just check that. Alright, here we go. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish long rest. Oh, okay. But anyway, here's the benefits of it. You shed bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light an additional 30 feet. So you light up a 60 feet area. Any creature takes fire damage equal to your charisma modifier if it hits you with a melee attack from within 5 feet of you, or if it touches you. Whenever you roll fire damage on your turn, the roll gains a bonus equal to your charisma modifier. So yeah, you basically will deal extra fire damage whenever you deal fire damage. Pretty useful, but again, you can only use it once per long rest, so that's once per 8 hours. Now here's your next bit, Phoenix Spark, 6th level. Starting at 6th level, the fiery energy within you grows restless and vengeful. In the face of defeat, it surges outward to preserve you in a fiery roar. If you are reduced to 0 hit points, you can use your reaction to draw on the spark of the phoenix. You are instead reduced to 1 hit point, and each creature within 10 feet of you takes fire damage equal to half your sorcerer level plus your charisma modifier. So at level 20, they're taking potentially 15 damage. Unless you have magic items that raises your charisma above 20. If you use this feature while under effects of your mental flame, this feature instead deals fire damage equal to your sorcerer level plus double your charisma modifier, and your mental flame ends immediately. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So it chains into your mental flame, It's just at this point that your mental flame can only be used once per 8 hours. It's a little discouraging, but okay. Level 14. Nourishing Fire. Starting at 14th level, your fire spells soothe and restore you. When you expend a spell slot to cast a spell that includes a fire damage roll, you regain hit points equal to the slot's level plus your charisma modifier. Very useful to keeping you alive. So for those Phoenix sorcerers out there, go with fire spells mainly. But let's see. But keep in mind it only works on level 1 to above spells. So cantrips, no, because cantrips are free to cast. They don't use spell slots. Okay, we're on your last ability now. Here we go. Form of the Phoenix. At 18th level, you finally master the spark of fire that dances within you. While under the effect of your mental flame feature, you gain the additional benefits. You have flying speed of 60 feet and can hover, which means even if someone was to lower your flying speed to 0, now technically you would fall, but even if you were falling, you would stop just before you hit the ground. So you're safe. You have resistance to all damage, so you take half damage on everything. If you use the Phoenix Sparks, that feature deals an extra 25 damage to each creature, so potentially 15 plus an extra 20. It's pretty good. The only thing I dislike about this whole thing is mental flame only working once per long rest. It's a little bit of a okay. So I'm not get. They give you 2 abilities that don't require your mantle of flame. Well, 3 technically, but I'm not counting Phoenix Spark because that requires you to die. They give you 2 abilities that you can use, and one of them is not really combat. It can affect the combat by affecting the environment, but that's it. Nourishing Fire, yes, it's useful, but it's at level 14, and it only heals you equal, like, okay, at maximum it will heal you 19. Sorry, no. It'll heal you 14, unless you increase your charisma above 20. That's not much, especially for level 20. But yeah, for someone who's supposed to have second highest at Constitution at 4, so they'll get 8 levels of taking 7, potentially 7 HP each level. That's 13 is going to be nothing by the time you're max level. But I suppose I would make Mantle of Flame a short rest. Like, I love everything else. It's just the Mantle of Flame's wait time. Like, I'd have to look at the other sorcerer stuff to see if they have such great, because like the Sea Sorcerer, he has loads of stuff that he doesn't have a limit on. Like shifting form, he can go whenever he moves, he turns into water. No time limit. No time limit, and you know that's it. And then he has Water Soul. At level 18, your being is altered by the power of the sea. You gain the following benefits: you no longer need to eat, drink, or sleep. Critical hits become normal hits. You have resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing. Soul of the Sea. The sea grants you the ability to breathe underwater. You have a swim speed equal to your walking speed. Curse of the Sea. Whenever you cast a cantrip, you can curse them, and they'll deal your spells will deal additional effects based on the damage. Cold. If they take an extra cold damage, their speed is reduced by 15. If they take lightning damage, they get an extra bit of lightning damage. And force movement, they move an extra 15 feet. And then watery defense. When you're Here, you can reduce the damage slightly, and then you can move 30 feet, and that can be used, on a short. That recharges on a short or long rest. So just by looking at that alone, and then looking at stone sorcery, boom, you can use this feature only once per casting spell. That's Stone Edge, Earth Master's Aegis, or whatever you pronounce it. You can choose up to when you use your Stone Aegis, to protect an ally. You can choose up to 3 creatures to gain its benefits. That allows you to travel through the earth to protect an ally that just got attacked, and no limit. You can basically constantly going all over the battlefield defending your allies. And then Stone's durability increases your AC. Metal magic. I find it just a bit odd that, like, a lot. Okay, so that's 2 classes. That's 2 origins that have, what's it called? Very good abilities. And here we go. Favored by the gods. It allows you to roll 2d4 and add it to your total possible change in the outcome. You can use that, but again, that's a huge ability, because you can use it on a saving throw, or when you miss with an attack. That's very useful, and you can use that. During this. Hold on a sec. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, Favored by the Gods is short or long rest. And Favored Soul also gives you access to cleric spells. Let's take a look at some of the other origins from the PHP. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth about the other origins from the UA, because I'm trying to stick to the player handbook, but I have a friend who's playing that class and she's never played D&D before, so that's why I went into that. But okay, let's go into the Draconic Bloodline. Okay, your innate magic comes from a draconic magic that was mingled with your blood or your ancestors. Most often, sorcerers with this origin trace their descent back to a mighty sorcerer of ancient times who made a bargain with a dragon, or who might have even claimed a dragon parent. Some of these bloodlines are well established in the world, but most are obscure. Any given sorcerer could be the first of a new bloodline as a result of a pact or some other exceptional circumstances. At first level, choose a type of dragon as your ancestor. The damage type associated with each dragon is used by features you gain later on. So cool, you get to choose a dragon and you get those abilities. For acid damage, you pick either copper or black. For lightning, you pick blue or bronze. For fire, you pick red, gold, or brass. There's only one poison, green. And then for cold damage, you pick white or silver. Here's some extra abilities. You can speak, read, and write Draconic. Additionally, whenever you make a charisma check when interacting with dragons, your proficiency bonus is doubled if it applies to the check. So, if you're trying to intimidate a dragon, if you're trying to persuade it or lie to it, if your proficiency is 2 at level 1, instead of having +2 from your proficiency, you add +4. Plus whatever your charisma is. With sorcerer at level 1, it could be up as high. If you're a tiefling, it can go up to 20, so we'll say 5. So that's 5 plus then that 4, that'll be 9 to that roll. So a roll of 11 equals 20. Dragon Resilience, also level 1. As magic flows through your body, it causes physical traits of your dragon ancestor to emerge. At first level, your hit point maximum increases by 1 and increases by 1 again whenever you gain a level in this class. Additionally, parts of your skin are covered in a thin sheen of dragon-like scales. When you aren't wearing armor, your AC equals 13 plus your dex mod. Essentially getting rid of the need for mage armor, because mage armor does exactly that. So, okay. Elemental Affinity. This is at 6th level. Starting at 6th level, when you cast a spell that deals damage of the type associated with your dragon ancestry, add your charisma modifier to that damage. At the same time, you can spend 1 sorcery point to gain resistance to that damage. type for 1 hour. Very useful, especially if you know you're going to go up against a dragon or a creature that uses a particular element that is in line with your ancestry. Very useful. Not so much if you're picking if you're copper or gold or red, great, because then you can pick fire. But if you're going against a green dragon, then not so much. But you can then boost your fire damage, so it's a little bit mixed. Again, so you can use that straight off the bat. For 14th level. At level 14, you gain the ability to sprout a pair of dragon wings from your back, gain flying speed equal to your current speed, and you can create these wings as a bonus action on your turn. They last until you dismiss them as a bonus action on your turn. So great. You can literally have wings permanently. I love how there's no limit on them. You cannot manifest your wings while wearing armor unless the armor is made to accommodate them. And clothing not made to accommodate your wings might be destroyed when you manifest them. Great, no time limit on them. 2 abilities at different levels that allow you that to have no time limit. Like the hell. Okay, next one, Draconic Presence. Beginning at 18th level, you can channel the dread presence of your dragon ancestor, causing those around you to become awestruck or frightened. As an action, you can spend 5 sorcery points to draw on this power, and you excel in aura of awe or fear, your choice, to a distance of 60 feet for 1 minute or until you lose your concentration, as if you were casting a concentration spell. Each hostile creature that starts its turn in this aura must succeed a wisdom saving throw, or be charmed if you choose awe, or frightened if you choose fear, until the aura ends. A creature that succeeds on this saving throw is immune to your aura for 24 hours. Okay, great. But again, there's no time limit. The only limit is your sorcery points. So let's say you get 20 at level 20, and that you can then use that 4 times. And keep in mind, a short rest is an hour, and you get 4 sorcery points per hour. So, yeah. So even then, you're still using that way more than Mantle of Fire, which is a level 1 feature. See, this is where I'm just like, when it comes to the Mantle of Flame. Let's read your last one. Wild Magic. Let's see if that. Now, if Wild Magic doesn't improve on giving multiple abilities a long rest time limit, then I'm definitely going to make it so that in my games, Mantle of Flame recharges on a short or long rest, because that is just ridiculous that it doesn't. If then it makes the Phoenix origin so less enjoyable. And I don't even play sorcerers. If I'm playing the magic use, I always go either wizard or warlock. I personally feel like Mantle of Flame, since it's level 1, since it seems your character's built around it, have it at level, allow them to harness it more often. But then add a limit to say, the form. Put a limit on the form of the Phoenix so that you can use it once per long rest, and then make Mantle of Flame once per short rest. That way you can balance out form of the Phoenix with Mantle of Flame. Because your character doesn't always have to go into their Phoenix form. You know what I mean? But yeah, okay, let's get into Wild Magic. Starting when you choose this origin at first level, your spellcasting can unleash surges of untamed magic. Immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell at first level or higher, the DM can have you roll a d20. If you roll a 1, roll on the Wild Magic Surge table to create a random magical effect. Here's where it can get very interesting, because as I said, when you roll a 1, the DM rolls a D100. And so many effects actually trigger. Like, I'm going to go briefly over them. From 1, if you roll 1 to 2, they seem to go up in 2s. Let me just double check that. Yeah. The result is always 1 to, as always 2s. Okay, 1 to first pair. Roll on this table at the start of each of your turns for the next minute, ignoring this results on successful roll. So if you roll a 1 or 2 again on the D100, you ignore it. For the next minute, okay, next pair. For the next minute, you can see any invisible creature if you have line of sight of it. Next pair. So, alright. Pardon me, probably because of all the coke. A modern chosen and controlled by the DM appears in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you, then disappears 1 minute later. I have no idea what a modern is. I'll probably look it up. But anyway, next pair. You cast Fireball as a 3rd level spell centered on yourself. Damn. Okay. You roll. Next pair. 9 to 10. You cast Magic Missile as a 5th level spell. Level 11 to 12. 11 to 12. Roll a d10. Your height changes by the number of inches equal to your roll. If the roll is odd, you shrink. If the roll is even, you grow. And again, there's no time limit, so that's a permanent shift in height. Next, you cast Confusion centered on yourself. Next pair. 15 to 16. For the next minute, you regain 5 hit points at the start of each of your turns. 17 to 18, you grow a long beard made of feathers.